Space shuttle mission, and it has cleared the tower.
It is with deep, heartfelt sorrow that I address you here this afternoon.
We will never forget them, nor the last time we saw them this morning as they prepared for their journey and waved goodbye and slipped the surly bonds of earth to touch the face of God.
This means that Donald Trump will be the 45th President of the United States.
But I want to say one thing to the American people. I want you to listen to me. I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the American Idiot Show with a diverse panel covering all sides of the political spectrum. We take a look at the most divisive headlines in our country. It's the American Idiot Show, and it begins right now. Okay, what's up, everybody? I'm glad to see you here again tonight. It's the American Idiot Show coming at you live on Podcast Network 49. Of course, the YouTube. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that good crap that, gets us support. And, of course, we have our panel ready to go. We've got our topics ready to go. And hopefully we're going to be a little bit more streamlined tonight than usual. Working, to bring you guys a better show experience. And with that being said, we're going to go ahead and bring on our two co-hosts tonight. Our third is actually having some internet issues, it appears. But we're going to start out with the Black Sheep there. Black Sheep,
yeah, what's up, man?
Looks like you were kind of giggling at the Challenger tribute there.
No, I wasn't giggling at the tribute. I was giggling at Ronald Reagan's bullshit that he was shoveling out there. The whole, they're going to touch the face of God, and fuck him. I'm not a fan of Reagan. So, yeah, anytime I see or hear, anything about Reagan or his voice, yeah, fuck that dude. Yeah.
You leave Reagan alone. I love Reagan. And with that being said, by the way, Donald Trump is no fucking Ronald Reagan. Anyway, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and bring on...
QAnon's going to be after your ass, man.
Do what now?
QAnon's going to be after your ass pretty soon.
Go ahead and go bring on Richard the Spartan. Richard, how are you doing this week?
Doing good. A little tired, but other than that, I'm making it.
Well, that's good to hear. Hopefully, it looks like Manny may have lost some cell phone signal, so hopefully we'll be able to get that remedied and have him on the show tonight. But we'll go ahead and get into some of these topics because I know we kind of playing this out block by block. But this one rocked the nation quite a bit last week. Last week, the GameStop trading scandal. So, Sean, me and you had quite the lively debate in the group chat about this.
Yes.
Here's where I rule on, or here's where I sit on this. They are paying these apps like Robinhood, like what's some of the other ones, E-Trader, others like that, to tell them who to buy, what stocks to buy. They are paying these people to tell them, okay, this is a smart investment, this is a dumb investment, etc., etc. So my problem is, you can't say there isn't a free trade market whenever they're telling them don't buy GameStop, because they're not actively preventing them from buying GameStop. You can take your money out of Robinhood and go buy GameStop. They didn't
before-
delist it.
Before, yeah, actually they did. They took it off. They blocked people's accessibility to be able to buy these stocks. And they didn't really
delisted
tell
it on
people-
that app. It was still on the stock exchange.
Yes, it's still in the stock exchange. But what I'm saying, though, is that, like, if I had the Robinhood app, Robinhood took it off. Took away the ability for me to go out and buy GameStop stock, okay? Because they're trying to help these hedge funders regain their billions of dollars back. Because, billions of dollars were lost that day. And that's awesome. It's not that these apps actually show you how to buy stocks. They just it's almost like when you go to Vegas and you play a slot machine, right? How they're made like video games now. They
Right.
kind of give it to a format for millennials to actually look at that and go, huh, okay. In fact, it looks a lot like gambling, and there are a lot of people that are trying to stop people from trading online so much because it's become so addictive for so many people, almost like online gambling or actual casino gambling.
Like I said, I hazard to see where this is preventing them. Your actual statement, I'm not saying that this wasn't detrimental to GameStop by any stretch of the imagination, but your statement was that there is no such thing as free trade or an open market.
Yeah.
That doesn't prevent an open market because you still have the ability to say, fuck it, I'm going to invest on my own.
Okay, so instead of remaining an open market on all of these servers that were allowing people to buy this stock, each one of them, one by one, shut the ability down for people to buy those particular stocks, thus canceling out a free market. Now, they came up with the excuse, we don't have hundreds of millions of dollars to be doing this. Bullshit. They do. They are trying to help the hedge funders. That's what they're trying to do, because the hedge funders have been fucking us over for years, playing with the stock market, doing this kind of shit. And, when a bunch of people get together and say, no, we're not going to let you, son, then now they're coming through and trying, the app people are trying to come through and help the hedge funders. It's just a stupid game.
Dennis says that Full Spectrum Survival made an excellent video explaining all of this yesterday. We actually do have a video from Inside Edition. We'll watch the story, and then Richard, I want to get your thoughts on this too, because you didn't get in there very much. I just, like I said, I hazard to say it's not a free market because they still have the ability. But we'll watch this and come right back.
When stocks in a struggling video game store go up by almost 800% in 1 week, Wall Street takes notice. Savvy members of a Reddit board buying shares in GameStop shocked experienced traders, according to Stephen Gandel, senior reporter for CBS Money Watch.
By buying it in a group, they've been able to take these short sellers off guard, and they have to then race around and try to find the shares, of which there aren't many. This is an Apple. And that's driven the stock from $4 all the way up to $350.
The Redditors making money off of GameStop are taking advantage of normal stock market behavior called a short squeeze.
And that's when a lot of people on Wall Street short sell a stock, and what that means is that they've sold a stock that they don't own, betting that it's going to go down in price. But the problem is when it goes up, they have to buy those stocks, those shares that they don't have, to close out their position.
Despite being unusual, this is all completely legal.
There are strict Wall Street rules against large investors, hedge funds, institutions, banks getting together and coordinating buying stocks. But because this is individual investors, there's nothing particularly wrong with it.
Now that the people on Reddit have proven they can drive up a stock when working together, Gandel believes this may just be the beginning.
It started with GameStop, but it's moved on to some other companies, some that have been hurt by the pandemic, others that are ailing retailers or technology names from the 1990s. So there's AMC, the movie theater, there's BlackBerry, there's Nokia. Among retailers, ones people are looking at are Bed Bath & Beyond. Even Blockbuster, the bankrupt video chain.
Overall, Gandel says this stock market behavior will not do much to the average American.
It's not going to have a major effect. People have talked about this democratization, this taking over the hedge funds as a way to solve inequality. It's just a tiny, it's less than a drop in the bucket.
For Inside Edition Digital, I'm TC Newman.
Okay, so Richard, now knowing what we know about the what they told us there in the video, what's your thoughts on this whole situation? Were the insiders and Robinhood, the app, doing something wrong, or is it just a situation where they got caught off guard too?
I mean, obviously they got caught off guard, and I'm a little bit sympathetic to Sean's argument on this, just because I kind of feel the same way about like the censorship aspect. Like when, big tech was censoring Donald Trump and everybody was coming to me saying, well, he can still do like a news. Yeah, but the point is you're censoring the easy access to him. So I actually am sympathetic to, even though he and I disagree on, the desired outcome of everything, we definitely agree on, man, money talked right there, and money told them shut it down, and they did exactly what money told them to do, and that's I don't agree with that.
So my question is this though: just listening to the companies, we'll say the companies that they mentioned there at the end, Blockbuster for whatever fucking reason, AMC, and these other companies. If I go to any stock person that has any sort of knowledge on how to play the stock market, they're going to push me away from those stocks because, let's be honest, there's going to be no yield on investment. That's their job, to push you away from those stocks.
But here's the problem, Michael, and I don't think that you're seeing this part. And when you talk in the mic, do it like this, okay? So hedge funders bet against a stock. So they'll pump it up, and then they'll sell really fast, which will cause a company to go bankrupt. They make a lot of money doing this time and time and time again. And this guy that created this Reddit thread, he did this back in 2012. He recognized what was about to happen. He called upon everybody that was a part of it. They all just happened to not be busy that day. Maybe the pandemic, I don't know. And everybody went in and they flooded that. And like I said, the thing that really makes me happy is that a few billionaires aren't billionaires anymore. They lost everything. That's fucking amazing to me, and I fucking love that.
But just like he said, what did they accomplish?
They accomplished actually making some billionaires poor, which is amazing. It's beautiful. And it
so they took people's money?
No, they helped people lose money.
They helped people lose money.
Yes.
Did they keep GameStop in business?
No. Eventually, GameStop will go bankrupt. You can't stop.
So you delayed the inevitable.
Well, the thing is, though, is that they proved a very specific point. When people get together, they can fuck with anything and fuck up the system. All they got to do is pick which one they want, and they can start taking out billionaires left and right all over the country. And you know what? That's probably going to be the plan. That'll be awesome to see.
So, yay, we're just fucking everything up?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's take out the stock market. It's all bullshit anyway. It's all made up. It's all imaginary money. Fuck it. Let it go. Fuck them all.
I'm kind of confused for what the overall purpose of this was in addition. Like, your overall purpose is you accomplished absolutely nothing.
It's called anarchy, sir.
Taking people's money away.
Yeah, it's called anarchy. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Fucking find yourself something more productive to do, and maybe you can be a billionaire. That's the way I look at it.
Why not do that when you can bring
them
down?
Did they get themselves any money in addition to that? Did they get any money out of it?
Some did, most didn't. Some did, most didn't.
So, once again, they wasted their time.
A lot of people did, but they proved a point. Don't fuck with these companies.
So now this is a moral argument.
It is. It
it's
really
turned
is.
into a moral argument.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. You think, once again, though, you think the GameStop CEO is going to fucking give a damn if you didn't put money in his pocket? They don't care about these people. Oh, look, Manny's on. They don't give a damn about these people that, at the end of the day, I heard people saying, oh, yeah, we help GameStop and shit like that. I saw that shit on Facebook. Like, you ain't helping shit. All you managed to do was delay the inevitable.
Going out of business because they have a bad business model. They haven't adapted. And just like, Blockbuster, just like Hollywood Video, just like all these businesses that we all grew up with, that we all loved, Barnes and Noble is struggling.
That they made mistakes, and
Well, it's that they didn't adapt in time. Barnes and Noble's still there. They're the big one.
right.
They might make it through. But GameStop is one, man, they're selling guitars and shit now. You know,
Actually,
they're
Starbucks is supposedly in some deep doo-doo, too.
Who?
Starbucks, shockingly, is supposed to be in some deep doo-doo.
Cool. Like, who needs an $8 cup of coffee? Fuck them.
I'm surprised. I thought you guys love Starbucks because, you know, they
I
give
don't
like
drink coffee. So I really don't care.
$15 an hour to freaking work their job. Like, I thought that was your guys' paradise. Shit.
Not mine. I don't know who you're talking
Well,
to.
not
Mike.
yours, but Sean's.
No, my mom was a stripper. Remember that. I come from a long line of strippers.
But no, I mean, once again, though, in the grand scheme of things, you accomplished very little, in my opinion. Manny, you just got on. What's your thoughts on this whole situation?
I think it's very telling to see how many government officials are coming out of the woodworks to help save these accounts. I mean, this is money that, if I'm not mistaken, is usually pushed toward politicians.
Yeah.
You know, that's actually something interesting that I did see. But basically, you know, when I asked Sean point blank, I said, Sean, so what was accomplished in all this? He said, a couple billionaires aren't billionaires anymore.
Right.
What did you accomplish? That's it. You took people's money.
Honesty, the way I look at it, I think it's a good thing that it shows them that they can be hit. So maybe they'll think twice before they start putting their money into that kind of stuff. I mean,
well, that's the thing, though. They weren't putting their money in there
for years, just fucking us over time and time again. 2008's a prime example of how, you know, the housing bubble popped, and they
that was more predatory lending than anything. People were getting fucking home loans that shouldn't have been.
Yes, but the hedge funders came in while all that was going on, and they pulled a bunch of bullshit. They made
now
Sean's
Sean's
dollars off of that too.
Okay, there we go. You're good.
Now
I caught the end. I caught the end. Yeah,
I mean,
do I think that the stock market is 100% cool and not shady as fuck? No, but once again, I just hazard to see what message you got across, what point you got across by taking a few billionaires and making them millionaires. Guess what? They probably don't miss that money. They'll be billionaires by next year.
It lets them know that they can be hit.
Yeah.
So maybe they won't be so quick to throw their money into some of those stocks.
Maybe they'll stop being so predatory themselves if a few predators come after them.
Well, and it depends on what the government does with this. If they lobby to back these billionaires that have lost this money, then no, they're still going to be predatory.
Well, what's funny, though, is that, you know, how many Republicans have come out and said, well, we need regulations to fight this. We've been calling for regulations to fight hedge funders for years.
Right.
You know, now that the tables have turned, they all of a sudden want regulations?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and y'all know where I stand. I am a full-blown capitalist. I don't care that they're billionaires. I like the stock market. I think it's made a lot of people a lot of money. I mean, a lot of people have lost money in it. I mean, somebody very close to me lost a lot of money in it. So, I mean, but that's your choice. You know, that is your choice to take that gamble. But I do agree that if you make that choice and you take that risk and you fall flat on your face, the government should not bail you out on it. And,
absolutely not. Hold on. Maybe I misunderstood what Manny's saying. Are they thinking about giving these billionaires their money back?
No, they're not thinking about giving the billionaires their money back. They're talking about coming out with legislation that will stop this from happening in the future.
Yes.
Which I think is BS. I mean, it's the stock market. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down.
Either it's a free market or it's not. That's my point. The hypocrisy of this is what's pissing me off.
I mean, I would say that you shouldn't punish somebody for fucking knowing how to play the stock market, but at the same time, you can make that same argument the other way as well. You can't punish these kids for getting together and successfully playing the stock market as well.
You should look up 4 words, Michael. Are you ready? Who is John Galt?
Fuck John Galt.
Yeah,
I don't even know who it is, but fuck John Galt. Just because you like him, I'm assuming.
No, I'm not, dude. I don't like that phrase. I know what it represents, though, and you should check it out.
I'll check it out.
All right.
We'll look it up after the show.
All right.
Okay, so looks like it's 3-1. Apparently, go Gamestop trading people. Anyway, damn. Excuse me. Anyway,
Joking up on it, aren't you?
I am. I've never felt so beat up upon. Okay, so former President Trump is experiencing a new surge in support from congressional Republicans. We have a story from Sky News Australia on this.
The President bears responsibility for Wednesday's attack on Congress by mob rioters. He should have immediately denounced the mob when he saw what was unfolding. These facts require immediate action by President Trump. Accept his share of responsibility, quell the brewing unrest, and ensure President-elect Biden is able to successfully begin his term.
Well, daggum, we're totally reading our news tonight, boys. Woohoo! With that being said, I actually did read that, and in case you didn't see, I'm trying to figure out who the hell let the word "learnt" into a news story. I'm pretty sure "learnt" is not a word unless you're, below the Mason-Dixon line. Could be wrong on that. With that being said, this looks like a major issue amongst the Republican Party. So the momentum looked like it was favoring moving away from Trump. And now, an about face with this McCarthy gentleman, because all of a sudden Trump's promising to deliver the House and the Senate in 2022, they're willing to sell their soul again all of a sudden. This McCarthy dude needs to be stopped immediately for the sake of the Republican Party.
What do you mean he needs to be stopped?
He needs to be stopped. He doesn't need to be anywhere near any sort of leadership within the Republican Party because he is considering once again selling the party off to Donald Trump.
Okay, I mean, you could say that he's selling the party to Donald Trump, but you can't censor the guy. He has an opinion.
Right.
He has a point of view.
I'm not saying censor the guy. I'm saying the guy shouldn't be anywhere near leadership.
Well, he's already been voted in power. You can't just.
He's the House Minority Leader.
Yeah. I mean, that's the sad part about it. I mean, we got congressmen. We have congresspeople that believe Jewish satellites have fired lasers into California wildfire areas because of big giant Jewish conspiracy.
And these are the people that are going to turn the keys back over to Trump.
Probably. That's the thing. That's the thing, though, is that you have these weird conspiracy theorists throughout Congress and the House of Representatives. They've been elected by the people. If they fuck everything up, that's what we deserve. That's all there is to it. You can't just go in and be like, well, I don't like you. You're out. No, there's an impeachment process. There are election recalls. There are all sorts of things. That
once again, I'm not talking about removing them from power. I'm saying that fucking McConnell, somebody, if you want to remain viable as a party past Trump and Trump's rule over this party and get past what everybody already looks at this party as being owned by the current president, or the former president, excuse me, you have to put an end to this right now.
No,
we don't want your help, Donald, in 2022.
Biden's already handed the House back to the Republicans in 2022. It's already happened.
Right.
We've already lost the House. It's already going down the drain because he's playing identity politics, and he's worried about everybody's penises and how they feel and all that bullshit. So yeah, I mean, it is what it is. We deserve what we get.
Richard?
Yeah, I mean, I can't fully agree with Sean in that aspect. I think he's got a good theory behind it. I think I hope enough people wake up to Biden. And like I said, the biggest thing that drives me crazy, and I said this during the last episode, that, now, Biden's up to over 40 executive
orders. Right.
Imagine if Donald Trump did that, what the news would be saying right now in a loop, 24/7. Chairman, they would call him Chairman Trump. He's the dictator. I mean, they would say because Biden already came out and said they're looking for ways to override Congress or the Senate on the vote on this COVID relief bill. I mean, they're already trying to go around the legislator. That is being a dictator. And so
I don't think he can do that. As far as direct payments to Americans, I don't think he can do that.
You're not supposed to be able to, but the Democrats are doing stuff they shouldn't be doing all the time.
Good point. And once again, I would like to say Biden is fucking up here.
But suggesting to try to go around Congress and actually attempting to do so are two different things. I can make suggestions all day long as far as what I want to happen in this country, and a lot of people look at me as a radical leftist. But they don't really know me. They don't know my agenda. They don't know what I actually stand for. So, just because I say something doesn't mean that I 100% think I'm going to try to do it. I haven't taken action to do it. When people call Biden an extreme leftist, dude, I laugh my ass off because Biden's more like Reagan than Trump ever was. And he really is. He's a centrist. He's a capitalist. He's a neoliberal. There is nothing extremist or left about Biden at all, except for his little, like I said last week, he throws a bone to the alphabet, people every now and then, just so that they can, hey guys, you can go in ladies' restrooms now and look at their shit if you want to, because I really don't care. I mean, that's all he does. He just doesn't give a shit about women. I mean, just like most politicians, he hates women.
Manny? What's your thoughts on this?
Well, I want to agree with Sean as far as me saying that I would love to do something, or I think we should do something, or hey, we could get behind doing this is not illegal. And that's what they're trying to hang Trump on right now with the incitement of the riots.
Yeah.
I mean, he can say, hey, let's go march down there and peacefully protest. That's not illegal. He could say, "Hey, we ought to go down there and raise a bunch of cane." That's not illegal.
Right.
No, and I don't think it's illegal. That's not what I said. I'm just saying.
Right. I wasn't talking about that. I was just agreeing with one of the points that Sean had made.
Yeah.
As far as turning everything back over to Trump, I don't necessarily know that that's a bad thing.
And that was the point I was going to finish making too, is that a lot of people don't understand the support that is still behind Trump. See, it's all in how you view the whole situation and how it went down. There's still people that 100% believe that the election was stolen, but even a lot of people who either say they don't know or they don't believe the election is stolen, now they're looking at the Democrat Party and everything that they're doing, and they're starting to see, wait a minute, maybe, like Richard said, because I said this many, many times, it's not about them, it's about us. And we're getting further now. We're seeing that it's more and more about the government and their agenda, and and people are getting behind that. Yet even the Democrats, they're coming out and they try to play a socialist card, but then at the same time still back the big money, and everybody sees that. So really, how are they any different than what you perceive the Republican Party as? Only they're just radical social. Yeah, socially, they're just radical. So Sean has a very good point there in the aspect of saying that there's a good chance they'll lose the House because they're not really doing anything different as far as colluding with wealthy people, which is the perception that people have about the Republican Party. They're not doing anything there, but they are implementing radical ideas socially, like on the transgender aspect of it and all that kind of stuff. And people, even moderate Democrats, they don't want to have that kind of stuff crammed down their throat.
And here's the thing, though. This is exactly. I apologize. This is exactly what I told you didn't need to happen as far as that goes. Like I said, I do think Biden's fucking this up. I told you before that Biden needs to tread lightly, along with every other Democrat. And you said they should come out swinging. Well, guess what Biden's doing? Biden's coming out throwing haymakers.
He's not. He really is not throwing any haymakers.
He's throwing enough red meat to the Republican base that they're going to whoop his ass in 2 years.
An executive order does not have that much power, okay? The president is a figurehead. He can put executive orders, which are basically suggestions, out
I wouldn't disagree. But once again, from a perception standpoint, he's
executive
fucking up.
orders are not laws. We have to go through Congress to establish laws in this country.
Sean, you forget you have to talk to average Americans who don't understand that, though.
That's why
average Americans and average voters,
because we have like 3 people watching right now, so I'm talking really slow to the average Americans.
They don't understand that, though.
But that's why I'm saying it. God damn it! Quit interrupting me. But anyway, you have the right versus the left. Okay, the left wants to be a secular society. Okay, they want law to rule. They don't care about superstition and religion. Okay, they do believe in religious freedom. Everyone should have the right to worship whatever they want, as long as they're not harming anybody. But they don't think that religious, sentiment should be a part of law. Whereas the right is motivated by religion in most parts, and the way I see it is that they most of them believe we're living in the end times, and that Jesus is coming soon. They're going to be raptured, and that it's a part of the Democratic agenda to make sure that everyone that's not raptured will be murdered for the devil, and to bring about the apocalypse and all that shit. I mean, dude, I see it every day on Facebook. It's really fucking crazy. I mean, for what, since 2009, 2008, this has really been getting crazy.
All right, so to continue my point, is it necessarily a bad thing to turn things back over to Trump? Because he was creating jobs, he was moving the country as a whole forward. In my opinion,
disagree.
He was.
Yeah, I mean,
was.
I would disagree because like a lot of the jobs that were overseas were just growing overseas. The tariffs were really hurting everybody. We ended up paying more to the farmers than we ever did in subsidies because of the tariffs. And the jobless rate actually did go up. Now, a lot of it had to do with the pandemic. I'm not going to blame Trump 100%, but he didn't do anything to try to stimulate it. He didn't say, hey, you know what, let's fucking start working on the infrastructure. You know, because that's a proven thing that you do when we get into really bad times. Start getting people to work on the infrastructure and repair all the bullshit that's going on, like bridges and things like that all over the country. It does stimulate the economy. No one has said to do that. Not Democrats, not Republicans, no one.
Manny, to answer your question directly, do I think strategically it's a smart move? No. Do I think that as long as he is not sitting in that office, that it is a terrible move? I've said this before. Economically, the guy, I believe, could get a job done. Anything else, defer to somebody else. So, like I said, strategically, I don't think it's a good move. But from an actual common sense, like, way to govern, do I think it's an okay move? It's not bad. They need to stay away. They need to stay silent on social issues, and they need to stick to the economy if they're going to turn it back over to them. But once again, strategically, I believe this puts you in jeopardy of not getting the White House back in 24.
Right.
Hey, real quick, how did I share this on my Facebook page? I forgot. And I forgot to do it.
I just shared it on mine. If you go to my Facebook and go in there, just click share and it should go.
Okay.
With that being said, like I said, that's where I get that strategically it's a bad move, but fundamentally it could potentially have benefits. Like I said, stay silent on social issues and basically run on the economy, and you could potentially see some benefits. Now, do those benefits outweigh the negatives? That's another topic for another day. With that being said, I think everybody got their point across on that one. Here's the next one that I think we're all going to disagree on. I completely agree. Like I told you, Sean, in the last one, I think he's coming out throwing haymakers, whereas he needs to be walking on eggshells. We'll start with Manny on this one.
Oh yeah, sure. Throw me under the bus. Thanks.
My bad.
I mean, this kind of thing happens every time a new party gets into power. You're going to have other ones that are pointing fingers saying, well, look at this, look at this, look at this. Biden does seem to be bowing down to other people. And you look at the 7 women that he has chosen to lead. I've lost my train of thought.
You said he was bowing down to other people.
Right. But the 7 women that are leading, crap, what is it? I thought I wrote it down and I looked over.
Do we need to come back to you?
Newspaper.
Do we need to come back to you?
Yes.
Okay, Richard, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think the far left is driving Biden's agenda. I mean, if you look at everything from
Keystone is all I need to say.
Well, I mean, you've got Keystone, but then you've got the transgender, you've got the equity movement, you've got it's all about virtue signaling. Like his whole presidency so far is nothing but virtue signaling. Like I said, most of these executive orders he signed, that's all they are. They're just virtue signaling. Like some of them don't actually mean anything. They're just virtue signaling. I think Sean shakes his head no on this, but I think
he shook his head, yeah. He's agreeing with you.
I know on that part, but as far as with him disagreeing on the far left driving Biden's agenda, I think the reason that he doesn't think that is because he has a different perception of what the far left is than what we have as far as the far left. And just because he's not actually following through with things doesn't mean that it's not driving him to virtue signal to that crowd. So
right. And,
I guess we should establish what we all consider the far left here.
I mean, the anybody who believes in socialism or communism is far left.
Okay.
That where they believe that it's a functioning, operating, socioeconomic, rational, deal. And then anybody who with the as far as anti-religious, like not people that don't believe that people ought to have the right to freedom of religion. The people who actually want to destroy the Constitution and override its laws. People that it's just the whole intersectional group. This your AOCs and the people who want to deny facts to try and build their own narrative around something. They completely ignore the facts. I mean, those to me are the far left.
Right. And I do believe that these executive orders are signaling a little bit of bowing to the AOCs of the party and that wing of the party. With that being said, though, you're right about the executive orders. They are suggestions. Where's the meaningful legislation to back these up? Like, for example, where he's, defending racial injustice, or where he's trying to combat that. All you've done is sign an executive order, bro. I'm going to need you to get something out in Congress.
Yeah, that's just like Little Rock saying stamp out the violence, stamp out racism. I mean, you can march down the street and say that all day long. It doesn't change anything.
Exactly.
So, but, I mean, we listened to Richard's version of, extreme leftism. You guys were all like, yeah, an extreme leftist to me is an anarchist. A true anarchist that wants revolution, that wants to destroy the government, to take out the government altogether so that there is no government. That's an extreme leftist to me. And I don't even agree with most extreme leftists because I abhor the violence of the revolution to begin with. I don't want to see innocent women and children murdered in the streets. I think that's ridiculous.
I think anarchists are probably ignored on the political spectrum, Sean.
What?
We're not talking about extreme leftism. We're talking about far leftism, which isn't to the point that you're saying.
But even when you put AOC in a far left, I would disagree wholeheartedly because she's against universal health care. She's publicly stated so. She has moved more centrist now that Biden is in. I mean, she's like a Nancy Pelosi. She's like a Dianne Feinstein. It's all about her and power and money now. She's sold out. Okay, she will become the new Dianne Feinstein of the Democratic Party. She'll be there for 30, 40 years. She'll make millions of dollars, and she won't accomplish a fucking thing for anybody that is looking at, union rights, health care, public education, any of the things that real leftists talk about.
But Dianne Feinstein didn't become more radical. She actually, as far as more far left, she actually, if you look at how she governed when she was the mayor of San Francisco, she had some very moderate opinions and moderate ways of being the mayor. So she's actually gone further left than what she used to be.
But she's also a neoliberal and a huge capitalist who has sold her soul to China. She has made millions of dollars off of the Chinese government through deals that she's done with businesses there. Right. I mean, she has no idea what leftism really means to people anymore. She has lost touch with her base. She is a capitalist 100%.
Well, and I mean, once again, though, Sean, I think this is what it breaks down to is your idea of leftism is anarchists, et cetera, et cetera. They're ignored on the political spectrum as far as I've ever seen.
Most of the time, yes. I mean, you're Bernie Sanders.
Because they're off the fucking radar to the left.
But there are people out there like Bernie Sanders that like democratic socialism, okay? That's not full-blown socialism. That's not communism.
There's no such
That is capitalism with socialism mixed together for the best, like our military. We have socialist programs in this country like the military, the police, firefighters, the Department of Education, all sorts of socialist systems that we use that don't harm anybody. They don't freak anybody out. Everybody works with these systems, and they work for Americans for the most part. And that's all that people like, Bernie Sanders wants to do is expand that so that people can have basic rights like health care and housing and things that we need to survive. That's all they want to do. Survival for the species.
I mean, once again, I don't think we're going to come to a consensus on this one.
Probably not.
Just because our idea of what is far left
Right.
is worlds apart. Like I said,
Right.
you have anarchy on your spectrum, whereas I think that that's so far to the left that it's about 10 miles off the end of the fucking spectrum, in my opinion.
I see anarchy all the time. There are anarchists that get involved with the Black Lives Movement, and they cause trouble and property damage. I see it with the Capitol riot that happened.
You just mentioned the problem.
Let's go down there and let's protest peacefully. And some people took it too far and became anarchists and destroyed property and tried to do some stupid shit. It's in both groups. They are there. They just take advantage when they can.
All right, so
And
getting
that's
back
not
to
a
the
good
point of the left driving Biden's agenda, but the point I was trying to make is first you had Biden talking about let's make America California again. That was one of the terms that I heard him throwing around. And you look at California, and they're not exactly winning stuff over there.
Right.
I mean,
They are the 5th largest economy in the entire world.
You can't
they've
afford to
got
live
a lot
there.
of cities that are tanking, bro.
Yeah.
They've got a lot of cities that are messed up.
See, and
But they're
this
still
goes
the 5th
back,
largest economy in the world.
Sean. This
I
goes
mean,
back to what you're saying.
Overall population, they fucking better be.
But I mean, they're not failing in everything like people say. I mean, I lived there for 10 years. I've seen where they have their problems. I mean, Gray Davis was a Democratic governor who ran it into the ground. Arnold Schwarzenegger came along as a moderate, and he fucking turned it all around. He did a great job. Arnold Schwarzenegger is an awesome politician. We need more like him. If we had more like him, we'd get shit done in this country.
I would agree, and I think the most
It's the
beautiful thing
extremists
about
on both
Arnold,
sides that ruin everything.
I think the most beautiful thing about Arnold is exactly what I said that Biden needed to do, which he's not, is Arnold was willing to extend an olive branch every so once in a while. We don't see politicians like that anymore, and it's unfortunate. That's why not shit gets done.
Yeah, but Schwarzenegger was a strong politician, okay? He made a decision, and he went with it. He didn't give a fuck if you liked it or not. It was what was best for the people, and he turned the economy around, and he did really good things. Biden's not doing that. Biden's like, we're going to make you happy, and we're going to make you happy, and we're going to make you happy, and we're going to try to unite, and he's just fucking weak.
Is he? But to Manny's point last week, is he really uniting?
No.
He's playing these identity politics, but is he really uniting? And that's what he needs to do. The Democrats need to be pissed off at the way he's acted the past.
Yes.
14 days? Apologies.
15 days, yeah.
The Democrats need to be pissed off at the way he's acted since he's become in office. Because once again, you're literally causing the same issues that caused Trump to begin with. You're rewriting history again.
Tom Cotton, 2024. It's going to happen.
Assuming he doesn't get the governorship.
California isn't necessarily the picture of success. And what he has done is thrown 7 women together to do his immigration reform, and 6 of the 7 are from California.
Mm-hmm.
The 7th is from New York.
Yeah, you should have, the majority from California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, the border states.
Yeah, the people that are on the border states, but he's got 6 of the 7 in California. And the 7th from New York.
Yeah, I would agree. That's a very dumb thing. If you want to talk about immigration reform here in this country, then you go to those states that I mentioned before that are on the southern border. That's what we worry about the most, right? That's what everyone cares about. No one cares about Canadians coming down here. I mean, except for, Bryan Adams. The Canadian government has apologized sincerely for bringing Bryan Adams down here.
I guess New York kind of makes sense because of Ellis Island, but really it doesn't.
No, they don't go through Ellis Island anymore. Come on, they haven't done that for 100 years.
Fuck you.
Through
Good
Florida.
point.
Dude, what did you watch Titanic last night?
Good point. Shut the fuck up, Sean.
It's not 1996 anymore. Come on, man.
I want to make a quick point about California and how it kind of relates to what's going on a national scale. Sean, you talked about, you mentioned this, and this is something you and I fully agree on, is that the Democrats, they're corrupt capitalist, crony capitalist politicians. They support crony capitalism. They're in it for the money. And that's my point, is you look at places like California where they virtue signal all the time and they try and make it about the poor people and helping people and the homeless and this and that. But then because they're so corrupt money-wise, it's the most expensive place you can live in the United States. You can't go there, and they can pay you $15 an hour there, but that ain't even remotely close to afford to live in California. And so
I used to make $32 an hour out there, and it wasn't enough to actually if I were single, it'd be great. But, I mean, a fucking apartment out there is like $2,400 a month. That's for a two-bedroom.
Right. Exactly.
Fucking insane.
So that's my point, is all this virtue signaling that the left does about caring about the little man and caring about the little class or the middle class. If you look at the places where they're in control, look at every major city, go try and afford to live in New York, Chicago, California, all these big places that the Democrats run. And when you actually see the experiment, that's the experiment right there. They're showing us what they do.
To be fair, the states that have the most people on welfare are Republican-run states, and the majority of those people that are on welfare are white. You look at Kentucky, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, all through the South. These are Republican-run states. They're, majority of people are on welfare. Most people work for Walmart. That's the majority employer in most of these states. And, both have their downsides.
So guess what you guys are telling me? You need to take the best of both sides and make them together, and guess what we have?
That's what we're saying. Bipartisanship works when you actually do it, and we don't have bipartisanship.
I agree.
Right. But you have to look at what, why there is more poverty down here and why there's more, and why there is more wealth up there, because the wealthy people are attracted to those areas. So they migrate into those Democrat-led areas. And then the middle class and the poor, we stay where we were born. We surround ourselves with our family. A lot of wealthy people, they're not about their family. They're all about the money. A lot of people are. So they don't mind moving to New York and living in a skyscraper and, all this stuff. And I'm not saying that, I don't mean to stereotype, because that's not necessarily true. But you just see it. It's kind of an understood against wealthy people.
They're more career minded when they're rich.
I'll tell you where a good place to start would be is putting a cap on what you can charge for rental property. If people didn't have to pay near as much for their place to live, I'm willing to bet more people would be successful.
I can't disagree with that. I don't think that would be a terrible idea.
But you're talking about government control.
Socialist, and I like it.
That's socialism right there. You're allowing government to control. I mean, that's what Fidel Castro did in Cuba. He came in and he basically commandeered the housing, took control of it, and actually made it public housing. I mean, and so you're kind of getting.
Do you know the difference between Cuba and America? There is no homelessness in Cuba. Everybody has a house. But everybody has a house. Everybody has a house. And in America, we don't. We have 30 million people that are homeless.
Socialists, we're equally poor. We're not.
Look at the quality of life between your average American and your average Cuban, though.
Okay, yeah. So 99% of Cubans are literate. We're at what, 80% here? right?
Irrelevant.
70,
Look
79.
at the quality of life. I know
People
illiterate
still starve to death
billionaires.
in this country.
Most
I don't
people-
think anybody starves to death in Cuba.
If you starve to death
I
in
haven't heard
America,
of
you're
that.
doing something wrong. You're doing something wrong.
But
if
I'm
you
just
starve
saying,
to death in
I've
America.
never heard of anyone starving to death in Cuba. I've heard of people being poor, but people still
literally
live.
flee Cuba.
Yes, people
aren't
flee Cuba
fleeing
because they
People aren't fleeing America by the thousands.
Right.
I don't
Millions.
think they flee America because they don't like the capitalist society.
They're
They're
just
all
murdered
sorts
in
of people.
Cuba. That's it. They're not starving to death because the government executes them before they can starve. So yeah, you're right.
Well, but I don't know that. I don't know how many people did they execute? How many people did we execute? I mean, we
execute murderers, not common citizens, Sean.
We don't.
Hey.
What? Wait, hold on. We had Black Panthers that were actually targeted and murdered in the 80s. We dropped incinerated.
So we're going back 40 years now.
Entire apartment complex, and
We're going back 40 years now.
It doesn't matter how long ago. You're talking about Cuba. How long has Cuba existed?
So you're saying that it hasn't. So you're saying we haven't evolved, and we're still killing ordinary, average, everyday citizens.
Yeah, every fucking country in this world does it. We all do it. We're all guilty. Canadians do it. Everyone. The French do it. The British do it. Everyone. No one's innocent.
Right. There's a difference between not being innocent, and I will agree with you that there is corruption among our government that has killed United States citizens that should not have been killed.
I wouldn't disagree there.
Most definitely. I completely agree with that. But it's not on a mass scale like it is and so open in these communist countries. And let's go back and look at when Lenin ruled Russia. People literally were starving to death. They were, because in communism, you're forcing people to work for free. So therefore, it's their nature to want to hoard that, and that's what farmers were doing, was hoarding the grain. That's why they were banished to the Siberian freezing desert. Where they froze to death out there, because if they were trying to hoard their grain to keep from starving, because literally they were starving to death, because that's how that breaks down. So yes, in communist nations, they do starve to death.
But before the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, I mean, they were a lot like Cuba. They had a 99% literacy rate. There was no homelessness. Dude, seriously, roll your eyes, Michael. I'm just pointing out facts, okay?
But literally the worst place to live on earth.
Everyone fucking demonizes communism in this country, and I think they need to stop.
People were fleeing once again by the millions from
the
Russia.
United States every year, okay?
Not in the millions. Not in the millions.
People flee. What?
Not in the millions, Sean.
Nobody's
Like they do from Soviet. They did from Soviet Russia, from Cuba.
Every year, okay?
Who flees the United States? Give me an example.
There have been all sorts of people that have fled the United States because they just don't agree with capitalism. They don't agree with the violence, the culture of violence in this country.
People that are trying to be criminals.
They're making a choice to go live in a communist country, but they're not fleeing the United States.
I didn't say that they went to a communist country. Some people go down to Mexico because it's cheaper. Some people go to Canada because they have universal health care.
They make their wealth in the United States. They make their wealth in the United States and then retire in Mexico because the cost of living is so cheap down there.
I knew 3 or 4 guys that were in the Army with me there stationed at Fort Bragg that moved to Europe because they didn't like the United States. I mean, it happens.
So you know a few people that move because they don't like it. There's a difference between moving because you don't like it and fleeing because you're afraid for your life. There's a major difference between the two.
I mean, fuck, let's go live in North Korea.
I don't think that everybody that lives in China, which is, this faux pas communist country, is fleeing, to somewhere different. The Chinese have played the long game for 10,000 years. Most Chinese people just are happy to be alive.
Amanda says in America, we get the freedom to choose what we do, not be subservient to a government, so that we get to eat and hold our destiny in their hands. America, the pursuit of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
I challenge each and every one of you that believes that horseshit statement to take your wallet and just like put it in your safe or wherever it is in your home, okay? And then attempt to travel anywhere in this world without it, without your identification, without any money, without anything. Tell me how goddamn free you are without any of that shit. Because
you have to do that in every single other country.
It's all
Go
an
to
illusion.
Britain. Go to Britain. You're going to have documentation.
You have to
Go
show
to
your-
any Middle Eastern country. You're going to have documentation. Go to Cuba and you're going to end up in
have
jail.
no goddamn freedom, no matter where you're at. There are imaginary borders.
So then communism isn't freedom. Socialism isn't freedom.
I'm not saying it is. Okay? I'm just saying we were taught in America to demonize that word, socialism and communism, all our fucking lives. But yet millions of people lived and prospered in communist countries, and they did just fine.
I don't know about prospering.
I don't know about prosper, bud. People
your
lead
idea
to
of prospering by
prosper.
becoming rich.
The government prospers.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Einstein
No,
didn't want to
my
stick
idea of
around
prospering
Soviet.
is not having to wait in
I'm pretty
line.
sure Einstein didn't
gives
want
a
to
fuck
stick
about
around the
money.
Soviets either.
Not everybody cares about being rich or having money, okay? Some people just care about their family and actually
Yeah,
living
some
life.
people just don't want to spend hours in lines waiting for a loaf of bread.
Right.
Exactly.
Not everybody had to wait hours in line. Those were extreme things that they showed here in America to try to show that bullshit, okay? I've seen so many interviews as
So
far as
everybody
people
in
that are
Russia was just thrilled.
So many people in Russia right now wish they had the USSR back because
That's
no one
insane.
was homeless. No one was illiterate. They had universal health care, okay? So
Show
many
me-
people wish that they had that again, and they don't have it anymore.
Please,
because the
please
mafia
show me the
took over.
statistics on
I'm,
this.
Yeah,
I'm
show me
gonna
the evidence on
I'm
that.
going to need some statistics.
Dude,
I'm
just look it up on
rewind
YouTube.
to a
Watch all the
rebuttal
video.
that I have for Richard when I was saying that we need to put a cap on what they can charge for rent. You didn't seem to like that idea.
Uh-huh.
But I mean, we put price gouging is illegal. It's illegal to scalp tickets and stuff like that. So people can't go and buy a bulk of tickets for a concert or something like that and then go and sell them at a higher price. So where is this different?
Well, I don't agree with that. I mean, I'm somewhat libertarian there, and honestly, I mean, I don't like it. There's lots of things that I don't like that I still don't want the government getting involved in. I think that capitalism ought to work itself out there, and in the individual, the capitalist can decide and say, look, like as far as scalping tickets goes, so hey, we got a limit on these tickets. If you don't have this many people with you, you can only buy so many tickets. You can only buy 10, or you have to show us, you know, the people sponsoring the sporting event or whatever. You have to show us where, hey,
Well, that's
all
all
right,
I'm talking about is putting a limit on that stuff too. You know, why should you charge $800 to $1,000 for a month's rent? We'll put a limit on that. You can only charge $400.
But that's where capitalism comes in and works itself out. See, if you're in capitalism, you've got competition, and that's the point of capitalism is to when you got competition, you drive the price down on stuff.
I don't know necessarily that you have competition, because if your idea of competition is you can live on a numbered street in North Little Rock for $450, or you can live in Sherwood and not have to deal with the same stuff you deal with in downtown North Little Rock for $650, and virtually they're the same apartment, that's kind of not necessarily that's not a competition.
Not equal.
But
Touche.
And I'm
the
not
problem-
saying that everything should be equal, but there should be caps based on the area for one.
Agreed.
But why shouldn't everything be equal? Why not?
I don't know necessarily that I agree
Because,
with
hey,
that.
someone that
That
just
definitely
throws some
agree.
tin on a roof shouldn't be getting as much as somebody who takes the time to actually put the wood and
Somebody
shingle.
just being given anything. I mean, we should all work. We should all do our part, right? Why can't we just all do our part and everybody have a house? Why
Because
not?
I like boats and I like motorcycles and I want a boat and a motorcycle. So therefore,
Touche.
I go work hard
Okay,
and
so-
I've made.
So why can't we use public motorcycles and boats, and it doesn't cost anything because our government takes care of that. Why do we all have to own everything? Why do we have to see who dies with the most toys? Why?
I own a $10 million yacht. And so if maybe one day I'll have a $10 million yacht. And you may say,
are we signing up for that?
Who else a capitalist on this panel? Who owns property and employs people?
Oh.
That's a capitalist. Who all here does that?
Well, I think Manny owns property.
I did employ people.
I own property. I have a wrestling promotion that I pay people. So I guess technically.
But do you own a business and actually employ people? And
Manny
use your
does.
capital to build business?
I did for 5 years.
Okay. So, but none of us are an actual capitalist right now.
Manny
we all should
is.
be according to the capitalist design, right? We should all be millionaires, billionaires. We should all be able to get everything we want because, rich dad, poor dad.
Capitalism is simply
The
competition.
hardest working people should be rich. Well, look at all the Mexican immigrants that come over here who are the hardest working people, and they're all the poorest people in this fucking country. Hard work doesn't do that. It's all about who you know, who you blow, all that bullshit, and, who takes care of who in the capitalist society. It's all a fucking lie. We should be working to erase that shit and actually make it so that everybody can enjoy life. What's the point in fucking living if you can't enjoy it?
But I have things, but what if my definition of enjoyment is different than your definition of enjoyment? And your definition of enjoyment is just, hey, going on a hike with my family. But, hey, I'm an adrenaline junkie. I need a motorcycle that does 200 miles per hour. So I got to – I have a problem where I race cars. You're ignoring
these things. I'm not saying that you can't use these things, but why do you have to own it? Why do you have to own it when the state could provide that for you? That would be fine. Everybody would have to pay everything. Huh?
If I have the money to buy it, why should I not buy it?
Because there are people out there that can't even fucking eat.
So
that's the sad part. No, there are some people out there that just can't fucking eat, and that's the fucking sad part about our capitalist society. We have people that starve to death in this society every fucking day. That shouldn't be true.
You can't save the world, though.
Yes, you can. We are an advanced species that solves problems. We should be able to do that. And hey, you could roll your eyes every week. I'm going to say it every goddamn week. We went to the moon.
I start saying you bring in homeless people to the point that you really can't fit anybody else in your house, I'm not going to believe that you believe that.
You could fit the entire population of the planet in the state of Texas and have enough room. Okay, that's been proven by leftists and extreme right-wing people. You could fit 7 billion people in the state of Texas, allow the planet to heal, and actually live and let people live life. You could do that.
I'm talking about your Captain Savior complex. Until I see you bringing in people that you don't know to make sure they eat and they're warm at night.
I help everyone I can.
Really believe that.
Yeah.
You just used that key phrase, though, that you can.
Yeah.
You can.
And we all could collectively help everyone. There's nothing wrong with that. Collectively, as a society, that we all help everyone.
I help who I can.
What?
Let's see you start it.
I've been doing it for years. I've been helping people for years.
Show me the homeless people that you brought in for the day.
Oh, that I brought in here? Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't do that here because I have small children. All my rooms are full. If I had extra room, I would do it.
No, they shouldn't have their own rooms.
Right.
Touche.
Right? Everybody.
Touche. That's a luxury.
They shouldn't have their own rooms.
Oh, okay. All right. So you're trying to turn it around on me and make it about like I'm a hypocrite when I'm just trying to say that the whole of society could solve this issue and actually take care of it. We have more homes that are vacant through foreclosure in America than we do homeless people. Why do we have homeless people? Why can't we put them in homes?
Because people own those homes that are foreclosed on. The banks own those. Why should they have to?
Banks aren't supposed to own property.
For nothing?
No, legally, banks aren't supposed to own property.
If they're foreclosed, I mean, the bank.
Yeah, and so they're supposed to sell those properties, right?
And that's what they're in the process of doing. They list them.
So they sell those properties at a very low rate, right? And then when people buy them, they can turn around and resell them at the value of what they actually are back to the bank so that they can resell them. It's just a fucking game. It's all manipulation of wealth. It's bullshit. Instead of playing the stupid game,
but
why don't
that
we
is
just
the
stop
game.
all that shit and take care of everybody?
Okay, y'all, we're not going to come to a consensus on this.
No, we won't.
I think we realized this about 20 minutes in.
Can I make one quick point on something Sean said the last podcast and this podcast, and he says it over and over again? I want to make a point about your rocket theory, okay? We sent people to the moon. Here's what you're not taking into consideration. Everything that it took to send them people to the moon is it's a computer. A computer cannot think for itself. It's programmed by man. And once you tell a computer to do something, it has one mission in its existence, and it is to do what you tell it to do. It can malfunction, but it can't make up its own mind to go do something else. The most advanced computers in the world are sitting right on top of our shoulders. You've got human nature, you've got the ability to reason, adapt, change, and you have billions of people on this earth with different things computing around in their head. And your mentality is, look, we've got to stop human nature. We've got to reprogram everybody's brain to think, ignore your desires in life, and you just be happy living the way that I think that we should live. See, that's the beauty of a free capitalist nation, and I know it's not completely free. I get that. But for the most part, a free capitalist nation is that we can be left alone to do what we want to do, and there is enough money to help people at least survive. There's enough money there for that, and it's there. People just got to go get it. And sometimes we can have a rational discussion about, hey, maybe we need to work on the process some to make it more accessible and easier for people who don't understand that system to achieve. I can have that rational conversation with you.
Absolutely.
But that's my perspective on it.
Right. So when most of you are Christians, when you die and you go into heaven, and you're in this grand, glorious city of gold, and everyone has a home, and everyone is cared for.
The city's not gold. The streets are
giant communist utopia that God's going to create for you, up in heaven. Why can't we project that down here? Why can't the Christians, who are the majority of people, come down here and actually build? Why can't they reflect what their God has designed up in heaven?
Because first off, the Bible never tells us exactly how heaven is. And
it doesn't. It's not a city of gold. Not everyone has a home. Not everyone has everything that they need or desire.
It does not. Where does it say that in the Bible?
All throughout the Bible. Says it in Daniel, says it in Isaiah, says it in the book of Revelations. It's all throughout the Bible.
And it states that everybody has a house.
Just being
that's the one I'm missing.
Is a perfect utopia.
It doesn't say that everybody has a house up in heaven. That's not what it. Show me in the Bible. Tell me.
Will there be homelessness in heaven?
Because you're trying to compare so Christianity, you don't agree with it, but us who agree with it, we believe it is a perfect world that is unachievable in this world right here. So it's unattainable. We cannot achieve it. It's impossible to achieve here.
Absolutely.
What we will achieve when we're in heaven, we won't be hungry. But God never says, hey, dude, when you get up here, man, Subway for everybody. I mean, that's
so
not
what
how the Bible's written.
So are you saying people are going to work in heaven? There's going to be homelessness for the people that don't work hard enough?
There's not going to be a need to work. There's not going to be a need to eat. We're going to be different creatures.
Right.
You won't be looking for a house because you won't need the shelter.
Right.
You don't need shelter. Why? Won't you have a body?
No.
Because it's
Oh. Wait,
So
I
it's a
thought
new body.
that you would be remade during the rapture into a new body, a Christ-like body.
Well, now we're talking about two different things. We're talking about the rapture and when you die.
Yeah, but the rapture happens, and then the tribulation happens, and then everybody comes back, and they slay all the fucking unbelievers. Then everyone is set up in heaven for temporary purposes, and they come back to a remade earth, right? So the remade earth What? It's not a communist utopia? What? I mean,
Nope.
People don't have to work.
Look,
People
look
fed.
at Genesis with the
People-
story of Adam and Eve. They didn't need a house. They didn't need clothes.
So you're telling me you're going to be naked running around in the jungle in heaven?
Yeah,
Really?
that's how God created us.
I mean, it was described as heaven on earth.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, we're moving on, y'all.
You
Next
just want to get
subject.
into the religious debate.
No, I just don't want to. I just don't want to talk around in circles for another 30 minutes. Okay, y'all. We still got like another 5 topics to get into.
Okay.
So here we go. Chad Wheeler allegedly beats his girlfriend, and the NFL has yet to come out and punish him. We have a story on this from First Take on ESPN.
Welcome back to First Take. The major storyline today has been the Texans' Deshaun Watson demanding a trade, but I would argue right now that I have a more important story that we need to share with you and report. Former Seahawks backup offensive lineman Chad Wheeler, formally charged Wednesday after his arrest for felony assault domestic violence. The details, I just want everyone to know at home, are very disturbing. Let me share those with you. Police say Wheeler asked his girlfriend to bow to him, and when she wouldn't, he threw her on the bed and twice strangled her until she lost consciousness. When she regained consciousness for the second time, he allegedly told her, quote, "Oh, you're still alive." The woman fled into a bathroom and called 911. She told police that Wheeler is bipolar and had not been taking his medicine recently. Wheeler was jailed, released on bail, and charged with multiple felonies. Wheeler tweeted an apology to the victim, blaming it on a manic episode, adding that he was walking away from football to get help. The NFL says the incident is under review. Wheeler's contract with Seattle was up, and he will not be returning, per a team source. Max, I'll start with you. Your reaction to the handling of this situation by the Seahawks.
Well, I mean, it's about time that the NFL reacts immediately and, in a strong way to this issue. But this issue is actually cuts along 2 lines, it seems to me. There's the obvious gender issue where you're talking about domestic violence. And if you've seen the pictures of her face, it's very disturbing. She looks badly beaten. And then there's also a racial component because he's a white man and she's a black woman. So there are 2 components here, which both, considering what's underneath it, he told her to bow to him. If that is true, then the white man is through use of physical threat and then violence, insisting on the black woman bowing to him. That is going to touch a nerve. So there's the obvious physical crime, which looked brutal, based on what I've seen. And then there's the dynamic I just mentioned. Now, the idea that he is bipolar, that is real. I've lost someone very close to me because someone had a bipolar episode. But that doesn't mean they're not responsible for their behavior. That person's in jail right now. And if you, and he should have been on his medication, the fact that she reported that he's bipolar and he wasn't means she understood that that's a real thing. But that's different than saying he doesn't need to take responsibility. And responsibility is not simply saying, I apologize, and now I seek help.
I couldn't agree with you more. My only question is why he still is not in jail. But I do appreciate the fact that he was jailed and charged with first-degree domestic assault, domestic violence, and unlawful imprisonment. I deeply appreciate that because that needed to happen. In the bipolar issue, while it's very real, doesn't mean he's not responsible, as Max just so eloquently stated. As it pertains to the NFL, I think what they have to remember, even though, you let the law, let the justice system take its course, if you're the NFL, just make sure that you're consistent across the board, because the racial component definitely comes into play when people see a white male and then you've been released from jail, but obviously you've got charges against you, and that has to be dealt with. But we also want to make sure that the NFL is consistent in terms of how it exacts ramifications against such heinous acts.
Okay, so that's the part I wanted to get through. With that being said, Richard, you don't like it. Here's my point. I want to bring up one point. Ray Rice. And Ray Rice just two-pieced somebody up. Equally just as heinous. You don't fucking put your hand on a woman. but Ray Rice just pieced somebody up in the elevator, and Ray Rice's career was over. The NFL came out that day that the video was released and basically ended his career. They suspended him indefinitely. Why Chad Wheeler has not been at least suspended indefinitely, if not Roger Goodell coming out and outright banning this man from the game of football for life, is beyond me.
Yeah.
I'll start with you, Richard.
No, I agree with that part of it. The part I'm shaking my head about and saying, oh, my God, is this woke bringing up race that had nothing – just because she's a black woman and he's a white woman does not mean there was any act of racism involved in that whatsoever. If he was racist, he wouldn't be with her in the first place. That's the most asinine, idiotic argument I've ever heard in my life.
Now, does the bow to him not strike you as a little off?
The racism part isn't between him and her. It's between the NFL's handling of black men that have done this versus a white man that has
That's, I think, where they're going with it.
No,
Now, the bow to him thing?
He was saying that the black woman is to bow to the white man. It was between them. It was. They were saying
part of it was Manny.
Black woman, and that he's a white man, and him telling her to bow to him is his superiority as a white man. And I'm gonna tell y'all something. Y'all may like this, but I'm here to tell you that is why I was a Democrat. I voted gleefully for Obama in 2008. That is the exact reason I walked away, because I got sick of being told, because I'm a white man, I'm racist, whether I say I'm racist or not. If I don't agree with everything you say, then I'm a racist. That had nothing to do with race, and that never should have been brought into that conversation. He's a scumbag.
That seems more like it was sexist than racist.
I think the sexism on the whole bow to me thing is more prevalent than race. But
the
I will say,
of the matters is a racial issue.
for me, with the NFL issue, yes, I think they need to remain consistent, like Stephen A. said. Sean, were you done, Richard? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't watch the NFL, so as far as consistency or inconsistency, I honestly don't know, because since Kaepernick took that first knee, I cut the NFL out. So
okay,
Sean. Yeah, my thing is that the NFL needs to just have a zero tolerance of any domestic violence. It doesn't matter.
They say they do.
What color you are. It doesn't matter anything. If you are accused of domestic violence and you are arrested and they have enough evidence to charge you with a crime, your career's over. Done. Zero tolerance.
Yes.
Zero tolerance. For too many years.
And that shouldn't just be NFL.
Players have beat the shit out of people because they're on steroids, because they have concussion issues, because of bullshit going on. Yes, OJ. So many different people. I mean, football's a violent game. We all love it.
CTE.
Love it. Yeah, CTE. That's what I was getting to. Hernandez, who played for the Patriots, man, murdered that cat. Murdered 3 people. Actually.
Yeah.
Probably would have gotten away with the first 2 if he hadn't fucked up the way he did for the last one. He had CTE. A lot of people have CTE due to concussions. This actually makes people more violent. How many people suffered a concussion in the NFL? Then you had steroids on top of that and everything else. They need to just, like I said, zero tolerance policy, and then get these fuckers help as they're going out the door.
Once again, I don't want to.
It's the NFL's fault.
I think, like Kellerman said, and like Stephen A. said, though, you do bring that bipolarism to the table, but that does not excuse. And I don't think CTE would necessarily excuse the actions. And I don't want anybody to get the wrong impression.
And there are racist motherfuckers out there that love, there are white dudes that love to abuse black women, and there are black men that love to abuse white women.
How do you feel about the whole bow to me comment? Do you think that was racism or sexism?
I think she should have grabbed a bat and beat the piss out of that motherfucker for that shit. But
I agree there.
She had low self-esteem, and she allowed that to go along for a long time.
Yeah, this can't be the first time this has come up.
Oh yeah.
No, it's not the first time. I mean, she obviously. I mean, most women have low self-esteem because of abuse, systematic abuse by society, by families, by men in general. And very few, the few that do stand up for themselves and actually portray, a little bit of strength, they're bitches and oh yeah, fuck that cunt and all that shit. The whole society as a whole will attack it. I mean. Well, being a feminist ally as I am, I see this.
I don't disagree with you. I'm kind of good point.
Yeah, I mean, women have been getting murdered, getting their asses beat for 100,000 years now, and no one's ever blinked an eye about it, until recently. So
one of the things that she did say was he was on his way to getting help already.
What's
when
that
this
mean?
came up. I would like to see proof that was actually happening.
I would like to see proof of that too. I'd like to see
this also brings up.
If he can't produce that in court, they should slam the book at him.
Yes. Well, they should still slam the book at him.
I
even
agree.
If he was trying to get help, I mean, that's not an excuse. But that does bring up mental health also. Looking at what needs to be done, what can we do to further the help that people with mental health need?
So I'm going to flip the script on you guys a little bit, though.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask you guys this. Roger Goodell, when he did come out so suddenly and so harshly on Ray Rice for piecing that chick up in the elevator, took a lot of flack for how he did not let the process go through. Do you think this is a consistency issue, or do you think this is Roger learned his lesson from when he punished Ray Rice and he shouldn't be taking the race issue?
It's a good question.
That makes it look like a race issue.
I think it looks like a race issue, but
even if that was his thought, I better not do it that way again.
Yeah,
this is not the time to.
I mean, here's the thing. It doesn't matter how much you do the right thing. You can support Black Lives Matter. You can be best friends with people of other races and minorities. Be a feminist ally or whatever. And you're still going to be accused of being a racist just because you appear white.
Right.
And I get what Richard says. It is frustrating.
Absolutely.
It's very frustrating. When I worked a particular
I'm
job
Mexican,
there,
and y'all talk about me not being Mexican.
Right? But no, I mean, I worked a particular job recently in Little Rock and North Little Rock. I had to go back and forth between two things, and there was a few years in between. And the majority of the people that I worked with were black. So when I left the one facility and went to the other, I was gone for 2 years. I came back. Everyone that had worked with me before knew me. They knew how I was. I treat everyone equally. I'm just I got a morbid sense of humor, it's just the way I am. So all of a sudden people were coming out, that motherfucker's racist because he doesn't do this or he doesn't do that. Of course, everyone who had been there a while was like, nah, you just don't know the guy. Unfortunately, people don't take time out to really know somebody a lot of the time when they throw that bullshit out there. It happens on both sides. And that's an unfortunate truth of our society as a whole. So, yeah, it does happen to everybody, and it sucks. But, either give up or deal with it. That's just the way it is.
So, Sean, just so I can understand your side of this a little bit better, you're saying if he can provide proof that he was trying to get help for the depression, not depression, the bipolarism, he shouldn't be punished as harshly through the law.
I didn't say that. What I'm saying is if he actually can prove that he was trying to get help, the NFL needs to step up and pay for every bit of help that he needs.
I can agree there.
Partially responsible. Otherwise,
I can agree there,
and
absolutely.
He's a liar, fucking let his ass go to jail.
I can absolutely agree with that. The NFL needs to, and I think they have through the NFLPA recently bargained for obviously they get the retirement benefits, but I think like drug rehab, alcohol rehab and stuff, I think they have bargained that into the PA system this last time, but I could be wrong. Right. Manny, where do you stand on that? Do you think that the NFL should pay for this gentleman to get help?
Oh yeah, definitely. But what I'm thinking is that if you have a condition that you're supposed to take medicine for, that makes you more liable if you don't take that medicine. You already know your condition.
Right.
Other people may not. So the fact that you have refused or forgot to take your medicine, to me, should be a worse punishment than somebody that just, kind of flies off the handle during the motions.
Absolutely, absolutely. Richard, any thoughts on this before we move on? Any final thoughts here?
Yeah, and I'm going to kind of make a statement where I kind of expose just a part of my history. I come from a family with mental health issues. A lot of my family has them and take medication for them. Everything from schizophrenia on my dad's side to autism to depression to bipolar on my mom's side. I had an uncle actually take his own life back in 2001. He was bipolar. And I was actually diagnosed as bipolar in my early 20s. And through research, I found out you can grow out of it, and thank God I have. But going back to where y'all made the statement of what was it, racism or was it sexism, as far as him making that statement to bow to me. I was when I was with my son's mom, this was when I was suffering with my mental health issues. I was very verbally abusive to her. I was never physically abusive, but very verbally and emotionally abusive to her. And I'm open about this because part of my growth in life was to just be honest about my past. And I was downright cruel to her, and I would say just evil things to her just to hurt her on purpose.
And this was the bipolarism?
Right. Well, a lot of it was the bipolar, also to go along with my own insecurities. And I felt like I had to build myself up to make myself powerful and strong, because inside I felt weak. But on the outside, I had to make myself look powerful and strong. So I put her down to build myself up. And that's just my own personal, experiences with that when I was going through it myself. And like I said, thank God I've grown out of all that. That's one thing, Amanda can vouch for that. I don't, I'm loving to her. I don't purposely try to hurt her. I'm not a perfect husband by no means, but I don't go out and try to hurt her. I don't say things to maliciously hurt her feelings or pick on anything she might already be insecure about or anything like that. And with my son's mom, I did all of that, like on a daily basis. And so, a lot of it probably is just his own, and I'm not inside of his head, so I don't know.
Right. Absolutely.
Maybe it's just because he's a multi-millionaire, football player doesn't mean he's secure with himself,
True.
And so a lot of it could be his own insecurities making him act that way. And I'm not justifying it or defending it.
Absolutely not.
Because I was fully responsible for everything I did to my son's mom while we were together. I take full responsibility for that. And I never make the excuse of my mental health, but I can explain it. I'm not making an excuse by saying it. I can just explain it from that perspective now.
Okay.
So,
Sean?
Definitely, I would say that, I commend you for being so honest about
Absolutely.
that. I respect the honesty about all of that. I've been divorced 3 times. I'm on my 4th marriage. I suffered, from definitely being an angry person for a lot of my life. It still affects me today. And, that's something, though, that we should address as far as like this story. What you were saying, Richard, what I'm sharing right now is that we have a problem, and it is a systemic problem in this nation with male violence. Men are violent. We come from a violent culture. We like violent music. We like violent movies, violent sports. It's all around us. You could even say we worship violence. It is so ingrained into the American male psyche,
I'm seeing women that are just violent, so I'm not going to say it's just a male thing.
No, but male violence is more prevalent.
Thing.
Male violence is more prevalent than female violence.
I can't disagree with that.
That's a fact, and
I can't disagree.
It is ingrained into our society. You have the stoic man that you're going to do what I say no matter what. And he's the rule of law, and even from some religious points of aspect, how a man has to control his family and be the leader of the family and all this and that, and different things. Different parts, different aspects of all sorts of society are affected this way. You know, but, you know, I would definitely say that, you know, men need to just fucking grow the fuck up as a society and just chill the fuck out. You know, violence is cool when you're watching it for entertainment and different things like that, or studying history and everything, but we don't have to be fucking violent all the time. We really don't. You know, yeah.
I agree with you to an extent, but I strongly disagree with you on one aspect. I think you're conflating culture with nature. Violence is not a cultural thing with us. That is by nature. Males are violent. Look at the animal kingdom.
I could see that point as well, Sean.
By nature, male species is more violent than the female species by nature. So
if you take a female grizzly protecting her cubs, I mean that would show right there absolutely against that. You know, it depends on every situation.
No, because she's protecting something. There's a difference between protecting something, but what do male grizzlies do? They fight each other over the female.
Right.
So they're territorial. So if another male grizzly comes to one male grizzlies, they fight each other.
But so even though we are animals, okay, though we are animals, we are a species of primates.
Sure.
We have reason and
exactly
above most other species on this planet, and because of that reason, we don't have to resort to violence in every single thing that we do.
But
unfortunately, most of us do.
But what he's saying is it's not a cultural as much as it is human male nature to be violent.
I mean, from the time I've been alive, all of my earliest memories up until now. Again, it's in music, it's in movies, it's in television, it's in sports, it's in every part of my culture.
I think it's absolutely prevalent in our culture.
When you talk about American culture and you ask, what is American culture? Most people say freedom. No, our culture is violent. Always has been. It always has been.
I would absolutely agree. It is absolutely prevalent in our culture. I'm just saying I would agree with Richard that it is also more ingrained in our nature to be violent as males.
There are societies out there that have lived without violence like we have. You know, I mean, look at the Tibetans. Look at, you know, and I'm not saying that Buddhism is perfect. There are Buddhists out there murdering Muslims as we speak. But as a whole, the majority of Tibetans live a peaceful life.
But they train themselves to do so.
Right.
Which everyone could do.
Exactly. Sure. Exactly. But that's the human nature being trained out of them, Sean.
Right. By nature, we're violent. We're trained not to be violent, but by nature, we are violent.
No, not necessarily. Not everything in nature is violent.
So if you have to learn it, obviously it's your nature to be violent. If you have to learn to not be violent, yes or no?
Right.
No, yes. A baby's not a violent thing. How does a baby learn violence?
Once again, we're not arguing that culture doesn't have an aspect in it.
If a child does something you don't like and you spank it, what are you doing? You're teaching it violence for discipline, right?
And
that just perpetuates throughout its life. You know, if we didn't do that.
A baby is also incapable of protecting itself or defending itself.
Right.
A human baby is
You don't see babies getting in fist fights, Sean.
But you take a 5-year-old little boy in kindergarten class, and another little boy comes up and takes his crayon. He's whipping his ass. You know,
right? I completely agree.
Not always. Not if we don't.
Because the parents taught them not to do that. But it's their nature that if you come up and you poke me, and I'm 5 years old, I'm gonna lay you out by nature. You as my parent.
No, that's not my nature. You could say it's a fight or flight issue. You could say either or.
But what is fight or flight? Nature.
But I'm just saying, you could say it's a fight or flight issue, or you could actually go against that. And a lot of behavior is indoctrinated because of our environment, because of how our parents treat us, because of how we're raised. If you were beat by your parents, you're probably going to be a violent person, right?
Sure.
Agree or not?
Yes.
9 times out of 10, yeah.
Because you
if
give
you
in
scream
to
that as a child, you're probably going to scream at
your human nature.
Right. Human nature does not necessarily mean that you're going to be violent.
So, Sean, you're about facts. Some people are born with more testerone than others. Those are the people that tend to be more violent than others. That's nature.
More violent. Necessarily going to be it, but 9 times out of 10, it will.
It all depends on your indoctrination as a child and how you were actually raised.
Sean, you're ignoring science right now. Hold on, you're ignoring science right now.
Hey, Sean, I was
Science
raised in a
says-
very, I was pretty much raised by a female. Like, my mom pretty much raised us. My mom didn't teach us violence. I mean, my mom actually taught us to be very kind and compassionate to people. My dad never spanked us. Like, you know, we weren't raised in a violent atmosphere. I'm extremely violent by nature. As a matter of fact, if I would have been around during the civil rights movement, I wouldn't have stood next to Martin Luther King. I would have marched with Malcolm X. Because I do believe that there is a time and a call for violence. I do believe that it is necessary in certain situations. And I do believe for black people I don't blame black people during the civil rights movement for being violent because they had to fight violence with violence. So I do believe there is a time for violence, and I'm extremely violent by nature. My ability to reason and my age and my experience and my calmness as I've aged has calmed that down in me, but it still is.
You had to learn that somewhere. Children aren't violent by nature.
I didn't learn it. It's my nature. I'm just violent by nature.
Children are not violent by nature. I've been around enough.
Yes, they are.
No, they're not. They have to learn that. They have to learn that. They have to.
People are territorial.
For a child to be mean to another child, someone was mean to that child to begin with. They learned that.
People are territorial.
Being territorial and being violent are two different things.
No, because if something comes into their territory, they will lash out.
Yes.
Even if
they will lash
been
out, they will lash out by behavior that they've learned.
No.
If a child is raised to share, okay, and another child comes along and takes a toy, they'll just naturally go grab another toy. They don't care.
That's laughing.
In what world? Go to a daycare. They're all fighting and screaming and crying over the same toy.
Because most parents beat and treat their children like shit.
That is radically incorrect. Most parents don't beat and.
Do you spank your child at all?
I did. I spanked I can count on one hand how many times I spanked my son in my life. I probably should have spanked him more because now he's acting like an idiot.
So when your child does something wrong, instead of talking to them and reasoning it out and using reason, you used violence.
Yep.
Basically.
Beat that ass.
You should never do that.
Yep.
You should never do that. You're just teaching them to use violence.
Why not?
Because you're teaching them not to use their reason and to use violence.
So if she chooses not to listen to the words, what good does it do to continue to try to reason and reason and reason?
Right.
So you're going to tell me you
have
can't.
to take action.
It's impossible for you to reason with a child. That's impossible for you. You're telling me you're mentally incapable of reasoning with a child.
I didn't say I was mentally incapable. I'm saying she understands the words, and I continue to tell her not to do something, and she chooses to continue to do it.
So you resort to violence.
You have to put in action.
I agree.
You resort to violence.
Yes.
That's man. Wow. That should never be the reason to do anything, man. Violence, especially towards children. That's.
Okay. With that being said, because once again we're just talking in circles. Is it common sense to wear two masks? Dr. Anthony Fauci came out this week and made a statement that said that it was common sense for people to wear two masks. This is a story from CNBC.
So if you have a physical covering with one layer, you put another layer on, it just makes common sense that it likely would be more effective. And that's the reason why you see people either double masking or doing a version of an N95.
So I will say this. I believe Dr. Fauci's comments were taken out of context. I don't believe he says that people are lacking common sense by not wearing 2 masks. I think he's saying it's common sense that more protection or more masks would equal more protection because you have more layers between your mouth and, the particles you're spewing and the outside world.
I would disagree. I would disagree wholeheartedly. I would say that he did say that, and he meant for everyone to feel stupid to do it because he's never fucking said wear 2 masks. But it's common sense to wear 2 masks. If it's common sense, he would have said so from the very fucking beginning, and he never did until last week.
I would disagree, though. You listen to his words. He literally said, if you wear 2 masks, it's common sense that it's
not common sense. Not everyone is a goddamn doctor in this country.
He's not saying it's common sense to wear 2 masks. He's saying it's common sense that it would offer more protection for the outside world.
Yeah,
if you wear 2 masks.
What end? I mean, next he's going to be talking about 3 masks and then 5 masks and then 10 masks. You know what? Plastic bag will make sure that COVID don't ever get in there.
It's common sense to wear a helmet.
Touche, but what I'm saying here is, and then you got to wear another helmet underneath. But what I'm saying, and that'll offer even more protection. What I'm saying is he's saying it's common sense that you can wear 2 masks and offer more protection to the outside world. Not, it's common sense. You need to start fucking wearing 2 masks right now, you bunch of dumbasses.
No, you're talking to Americans. They have to be spoon-fed everything in this country. So there's no such thing as common sense in this country.
And while I see what you're saying, Mike, I think the big issue that we haven't even touched on would be the media's reporting of it.
Oh,
is that the way the media reported it? No.
Oh, absolutely. You're right.
Wearing 2 masks is common sense. That's what Fauci says.
Right, absolutely. And, this goes to even, Trump people who say, a lot of his stuff is taken out of context. Which, I mean, I've heard that for 4 years. Do I think that everything Donald Trump said was completely retarded and for 4 years? No. There was a lot that was taken out of context, in my opinion. Sean, on the other hand, thinks Donald Trump's just a fucking moron. But no, the media does have this complex where, what's the bigger story? Fauci says wearing 2 masks cause more protection, and that's common sense? Or, hey, y'all are a bunch of fucking idiots. You should have been wearing 2 masks the whole time. What's going to get more clicks? What's going to get more clickbait, as they say? I think you're right. I think that's the bigger issue we have here. Gina says, even with 2 masks, there are all the surfaces out there contaminated and being touched, and that is also a good point.
Yeah, I definitely think that it is spread far more by touch than by breathing.
I would agree with that statement.
You look at a whole bunch of places that don't have the automatic doors or don't have the doors open for you, and everybody, nine people out of 10 are going to hit the same point on that door.
I would agree there.
You look at
how many people walk through Walmart with? Sorry, I was just going to say, how many people walk through Walmart with all their little booger-eating kids and let their kids go without a mask and touch everything? And you don't know what people have touched or anything like that. We need to have a glove mandate too.
Manny.
You look at your credit card machines. Everybody has to touch that same 9-digit keypad. At the pumps, everybody has to grab that same nozzle. So it's all of those places that I think is spreading it far more than happen to walk past somebody while you're breathing.
Well, we were talking a second ago also, and I completely agree with both of you. We were talking a second ago about the media's report. Let's just go back to when we were talking about 1 mask here. And the media's initial report was wearing a mask will save you from coronavirus. And then all of a sudden it's wearing a mask will save others from catching the coronavirus from you. The constant flipping and flopping has caused us to where we are now, saying that Dr. Fauci said something that, in fact, Dr. Fauci didn't say. Chuck says, I use my fist or knuckles. I mean, you're still technically making contact, so you're still getting the bacteria on you, but I see your point.
One thing that I have found myself doing is on doors that don't have actual latches, I will reach up high to push it open instead of on the actual handle. On doors that have the handles that come out, instead of grabbing the handle itself, I will grab down beside where it connects to the door and pull there.
Richard, you've been kind of. Oh, I apologize.
Oh, I try to touch places where people don't normally touch.
Another thing I've started adapting that I never did before this was I would always see people, grab a paper towel or something to open like the door in the bathroom. I've started doing that as well now. Richard, you've been kind of silent. Number one, I want to ask you, do you think Dr. Fauci's comments were taken out of context? And number two, what do you think about what Manny has said about whether it's more airborne or touchborne?
I don't know. I mean, as far as his, I honestly, I didn't even really pay that. I was reading something on my phone, so I was trying to look something up that we had talked about. But so I don't know if I didn't hear the part about him taking it out of context. And what I was actually trying to look up was something I heard on another podcast I listened to today about other people, other infectious disease, doctors who disagree with that because they say it actually blocks too much of the air. Where with one mask, it pushes on through, so it actually filters the air. But when you put two masks on, instead of it filtering the air, it actually kicks it out the side of the mask. I don't know.
That's actually really interesting that you bring that up.
But ultimately, I think it's all really just in vain anyway, because I think we're all going to end up with it no matter what. I think we're just prolonging the inevitable, and even like the vaccines and stuff, they're saying that now new strains of it are coming out. And so, I mean, honestly, I just do. I think I'm not saying don't take precautions, I'm not going to tell people whether they should or should not wear masks. That's up to them. I do wear masks in certain scenarios. In other scenarios, I do not wear masks. And so
you actually bring up a point that made me think of something I heard earlier today. My girlfriend was on the phone with one of her friends, and she said something about that she believes that all this over sanitization and over worrying is going to lead to a super illness, and because of the way we are now conditioning our bodies, it's going to run rampant, just like COVID did.
That's what they say.
I'm wondering if we are headed towards something like that.
They are. What did they use today? The phrase was pandemic hurricane. That's what's supposed to happen. Some doctor came out and said that it's going to get a whole lot worse because of all the variant strains and everything. I mean, all COVID viruses mutate every single year, and we're just now dealing with COVID-19. We've been dealing with all the other every single year since then, and this is just a more deadly strain. So to get ahead of this, we should have shut down everything for 2 weeks a long time ago.
Yeah, we're too late now for a shutdown, let's be honest.
No, at some point we're going to have to shut down, and that's the reality nobody's facing. Nobody wants to. They're just so afraid we're going to destroy the economy and destroy America and all this. Every goddamn thing in this country, they're just going to have to tell everybody, look, you just need to stay home for this amount of time, and that's it. Everyone's going to have to do it.
I think we've passed the point of no return, and at this point, everybody will have to catch it. I think that shutting down will honestly have no effect at this point.
Yeah. It wouldn't have had an effect in the beginning. It wouldn't have. It was just prolonging.
I think it could have at least slowed it to where we could have gotten rid of it. Or
we could have controlled it in the beginning if we had actually shut everything down.
I think now it's too rampant.
I mean, you look at China, there's 1 billion people there. They didn't have as many deaths as we had because they shut down entire cities at a time. They have worked very hard to control every area that they've had an outbreak. Whereas we're just like, oh, well, yeah, you can use 50% in your restaurants. We don't want to impede on anybody's freedom,
Okay, I want to kind of catch up on some of these comments. I have been showing them, but Chuck also says, I have not caught the virus yet because I'm too smart with my surroundings and ways. Maybe I've been lucky, and I don't wear a mask unless I have to in a place that requires you.
Oh, come on. Wear a mask everywhere.
Manny, what's your thoughts on his statements there?
I'm pretty much the same boat as him. I will carry a mask all the way to the door before I put it on.
Okay.
Yep.
So what
Richard,
if
are you the
there's
same
not a
way?
sign that says it's required to wear one? Will you not wear one?
Do what?
If there's no sign that says that it's required to wear a mask, do you not wear one?
No, I don't.
I don't either.
Fuck.
Nope.
Sean.
No, there are a couple of places in Hot Springs that do not have a sign, and I walk right in there, and they don't say anything, and none of them have ever said that they've had people out due to COVID.
Well, and that's something that, you know, I wear a mask no matter what since I've caught it, just because I don't want the shit again. It wasn't fun the first time around. It wasn't as bad as it could have been, but it wasn't fun the first time around. But, you know, that's just me. I don't like being sick, period. I'm a little baby when it comes to that kind of shit. But with that being said, once again, I think that, and Dina says, oh, wow, with a rolly eyes emoji. But once again, I think this is a concept of the media taking things out of context. I do agree with a lot of what Manny said, though, about I think that, you know, right now, because so many people are masking, I think it's become more of a touch situation as well.
I would definitely refute that, because where I've been working recently, less than 50% of the people I deal with on a daily basis wear a mask. They don't give a fuck. Half of them dispute that it's even real. I keep hearing all this bullshit as far as it doesn't exist, it's not a real thing, all this horse shit. People that know family members that have caught this shit still deny it. We're never going to get over it as long as people are doing this shit.
Well, I mean, I don't think we're ever going to get over it, so to speak, either. Okay.
We will get past the pandemic. We always do. It just takes a while.
Okay, so with that being said, next one I do not have a story on either, but is China rehearsing to potentially overtake the United States of America? And me and Sean were kind of, when I was sending him the topics, we kind of talked about this. Do I think China's a threat? Yes. Do I think they actively go through freaking drills to, okay, so when we get to the coast, here's where we're going type of situation? No. I think that number one, they probably don't need a fucking plan, because, you know, they can just come in here and outman us. But
not that kind of takeover, Mike.
Do what?
It's not that kind of takeover.
Oh, what do you mean?
They're talking about being looked at in the national groups the same way the U.S. is looked at now.
Oh, I think in a lot of ways China's already overtaken us. I think, you know, we're not the number one superpower anymore, I don't believe. I apologize. I don't believe we're the number one superpower anymore.
Yes,
I think that's been China for as long as I've been alive.
No, we still are the number one superpower. China was projected to actually overtake us in 2035, but because of this pandemic, that's probably going to happen in the next 5 years.
Right,
because their economy has grown and ours hasn't.
Have shown how they handled the pandemic and all of that. Good night, baby. For the first time, they have attracted more foreign investors than anybody. Here's my baby girl.
Hey.
And she is just fine, even though every now and then I have to spank her.
She told you to shh. We know who runs that house. Okay.
We're going to sleep when it's time to sleep.
Okay. So my apologies, I misunderstood. But I mean, it surprises me that Sean brings up, because I've always looked at China as the kind of what the world revolves around anyway.
I'm sorry. Some of the other points. Okay, so they attracted more foreign investments than any other country this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have signed their first European Union trade agreement. And the only thing that many people are speculating is holding them back is the clash over Hong Kong and the human rights abuses. So if they could put those two things in the past, they will overtake the U.S. as far as being a leader among nations.
I would definitely agree with that statement. I think that the human rights violation is a big one as far as from a global what's the word I'm looking for? Perception standpoint.
Right.
But I think that right now, I mean, obviously they're still communists, so you know how progressive can you be? But I think that
we have more people in prison in America than they do in China. So human rights violations is horseshit if you want to throw that out there.
Either, Mike.
Do I now? I'm sorry, Manny.
Communism isn't looked at the way it used to be looked at anymore. You have a whole lot of Americans that think communism is the way to go. And that would have never been heard of 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah.
So communism isn't a bad word in a lot of people's books.
Touche. I mean, a lot of people, currently in America are, not necessarily actively pushing for communism, but pushing for a more socialist agenda, so to speak. So, I mean, you're right. It isn't looked at. It isn't perceived as badly as it once was. And not to mention, let's be honest, people. China isn't actively running people over with tanks anymore.
Right.
So, I mean, once again, I see the potential implications, but do I see any way to stop it? Probably not. I'm not sure.
Well, and the other part of that would be what we touched on last week with the chips that we are purchasing from China. And now they're going into our power grids. Thank you, Joe Biden, for signing that agreement to allow us to use chips from China in our electric grid. So at any time, if they do have kill switches embedded in those, if they wanted to put us in the dark, it's a flip of the switch, and we're in the dark. Our missiles are worthless against them. Any aircraft or aircraft carrier or ship that is using these chips are no longer useful. So if they wanted to overtake America, it seems like they're setting themselves up pretty well to do that.
I would agree. Richard?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that they're I definitely think that they want to overtake us. I do, and I do think that they are setting themselves up to put themselves in a position to one day do that. I don't know how soon it will be. Thank God right now we're maintaining our Second Amendment rights because we are the world's largest armed militia in the United States because the citizens do have their gun rights. I don't, like I said, I don't know how soon it's going to be. I mean, I don't know when they're going to make a move. I don't know how serious they are about it right now. But one thing that does have to become consistent is, our government, the standard they hold them to on human rights violations. If we're going to sit here and constantly talk about, civil rights issues here in the United States, but then continue to do business and continue to prop up foreign nations that blatantly, violate human rights, human rights in their country, we have to create a standard and just stick to it and say, look, if they're going to do this, we're not going to do business with them. If they, want to play by the rules and treat people, right, then we'll do business with you.
It goes to what John has been saying about Biden trying to make everybody happy.
Right.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, and once again,
I think we were much safer under Trump than we are Biden, because it's kind of nice having a guy that's crazy enough to push that button in office, and they know that. They're like, wait a minute, this dude, he won't mess with us. He'll drop a bomb on us. You know, Joe Biden, he won't. He thinks that you if you're kind to him, they'll leave us alone. That's not how they think. They're constantly playing us, whether we realize it or not. And going, all right, so we can get closer if we play into this kindness, and we'll get ourselves closer and closer and closer and closer until one day they decide to make their move. But when you got a president out there around, you know.
I think my biggest problem with Trump having his finger on the button is he wasn't afraid to say he had his finger on the button. I don't think you necessarily need to say you have your finger on the button.
No, because it makes them, if they know that he's crazy enough to do it, are you going to push him to push that button? But if you don't realize it, it might be too late, and he might have to push the button. But if he goes, look, I will push this button. I promise you. Don't push me. You know I'm crazy. I'll push this button. And they knew he was crazy, and they knew he'd push the button, you know? So, I mean, people don't like that. They don't like the idea of kind of ruling with an iron fist. But at the same time, when you've got other nations that would love to overthrow you and take you over, you know, it's not such a bad idea to have a guy that's got backbone like that.
Mike, with the right person in the chair, an 8-2 offset will be the pair of pocket aces.
Yeah.
My thing is this. Once again, I have no problem telling people, hey, I got that finger on the button, but throwing it out there and completely throwing it in the face seems kind of Kim Jong-un-ish. Hey, by the way, in case you forgot, I've got a nuke and I don't mind using it. Chuck says well, no, that's not the nuke. Oh, yeah. Chuck, that's the exact same comment you just made. I don't know if you meant to send the same comment, but once again, I think that's just kind of Kim Jong-un-ish. Like, hey, I'm not messed up about pressing this button. Please give me a reason to press this button. You got diplomacy has its place, in my opinion, and I think that's part of where he fell short.
Yeah, but sometimes it's good, even if the button isn't turned on, just to let people know, hey, I've got a button over here that I can push if I need to.
Right, absolutely. Okay, moving on to the next topic, we have a story from Fox News. Is the Arizona sheriff briefs President Biden on border security.
One of the policies right now that the Biden administration wants to do, that's not an immigration strategy. That's an open border strategy. And the smuggling organization, the migrants, are loud and clear, and the crisis has already begun.
It has not even been a week since President Biden was sworn in, yet his immigration proposal is already making a negative impact. There were reports of a second caravan forming in Central America now, just days after Guatemalan forces broke up a caravan of thousands hoping to reach the U.S. Evidently, they dispersed. They didn't disband. Here to react, the chairman of the National Sheriff's Association Border Committee, Cochise County, Arizona Sheriff Mark Daniels. Sheriff, have you seen this difference that Mark Morgan's talking about?
I have, Brian, and you know this executive order. It's troublesome. It's hasty. We've worked so well over the years, and why we need a secure border is just common sense, and I can articulate that to you. But yeah, we have since the primary till now. Our statistics in Cochise County, we have a virtual camera system. 800 cameras are deployed. We've doubled those coming into our county and along the southwest border.
So do they all have rapid tests with them, and they're wearing masks?
No, they're not. And what's alarming on this, Brian, is you look back in 2019, people ask, well, why do we need a secure border? This political theater that's being played out is scary to all of us on the southwest border, sheriffs, police departments, and our federal partners, and every American should be standing up on this, because in 2019, we had 141 countries breach our southwest border, 1,100 gang members from representing 20 different countries. Then you go back and look at the 3,500 children that are being exploited by the cartels as a fraud, 61 fraud families. I can go on, 822 assaults on federal agents. It just goes back to show you how vulnerable our southwest border is, to include every American in this country, if we don't have a secure border.
Hey, Sheriff, they're stopping our allies from coming here, France, the UK, Middle East. We're not doing it because of the pandemic. But when it comes to our southern border, it's whatever happens, happens, not their problem. How do you explain these two views? How do they commingle in your mind?
Well, they don't. First of all, they don't. You got 24 countries that President Biden has reacted a travel ban on, but you're allowing our southern border. One thing that bothers me as a sheriff serving 37 years on the southwest border is the fact that the lessons of the past continue to be played out in Congress, through the presidency. It's political theater. When President Trump was president, with everything that's going on, I tell you, we had a very positive, proactive relationship with President Trump at the table to work out community issues. Police chiefs and sheriffs are experts of communities. Our federal government is supposed to be experts of national security and border security. Together, that's a recipe of success for every American. And what I'm seeing now is we're going to go back in time and play this political theater at the backs and the wrist of every American.
You told me in the break that they stopped putting up the wall yesterday. You got 20-something miles, 82 would finish it. We've already paid for it. What is your message to Washington? Is it working? Do you need more?
We do. This was a positive protection for our county, for America, all along the southwest border, as my sheriffs in Texas, sheriffs in Yuma, and California. It's working. And to halt that is hasty. And again, I've said it now, it's political theater being played out at the backs of America. It's sad, Brian. And I'm telling you, we've been down this road before. I don't know why we can't look in the past and find balance in our processes, our programs, and stop this madness.
There's no Republicans and Democrats who wear in the uniform at the border. They're just trying to have an organized immigration system and stop people from flooding it in and making a mockery of it. I don't know why politics enters into this. Remember, Joe Biden passed the Secure Fence Act. That was 650 miles in 2006. What happened to that guy? It's only gotten worse since, and now we have a pandemic on top of it. Sheriff, the frustration must be overwhelming. Thanks for telling the story. Hopefully someone's sober enough in Washington to listen to you. Sheriff Mark Daniels, thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, so with that being said, essentially what the outcome of this is that the sheriff told him that we needed to continue this border protection wall, and it was having a positive outcome.
The part that gets me on that whole thing is him saying that it was already paid for. So why kill jobs? Why kill security? Again, thanks, President Biden.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time finding a disagreement with
I'll tell you
this.
what I saw. All the people that talk about, well, shouldn't we have let people that need to be here in and all that? Watch that video and see how many of those people look like they needed to be here. Watch the video of them pushing their way in the way they did, and tell me that all of those people needed to be saved from something.
Well, remember, if you're talking about the same video that I'm talking about, that I'm thinking you're talking about, that was in Honduras, not here, where the mass of people are just flooding through. That was in Honduras, if you looked up at the top left. But with that being said, I mean, once again, I'm completely for a pathway to citizenship, and they should make it easier to become an immigrant. But I believe that there still should be a policy in place to become an immigrant or to become a naturalized citizen. I think we're all in agreement there.
Yeah.
I feel like a border wall would impede upon that ability to make that a reality. But, here's the thing. I have a hard time arguing with you saying those words. You saying that, you know, it was already paid for, and I must have missed that as Chuck responds to Dina there in the comment section. I must have missed that part, but, you know, with it already being paid for, I guess finish the piece that was already done, or that's already been paid for, and then tell them, hey, no more. I have no problem with that, but if it's already paid for, it's already paid for. I mean, there's not much that can be done now.
You have material that's just going to lay there for who knows how long.
Right, exactly. Exactly. And now you have, you know, this stuff that's bought and paid for that, like you said, it's just going to go to waste now. Richard, what's your thoughts on what the sheriff in Arizona said?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with both y'all on that. I mean, I'm a big, you know, although I'm very sympathetic to, you know, people who really do want to just seek a better life and adapt to the American culture, per se. You know, I'm very sympathetic to that, to people who just want a better life, want to come across our border. I can't even say that if I lived down there and I felt like I had an opportunity to come across illegally, I wouldn't. But at the same time, I'm also for border security. You know, I think we have to protect our border because there are consequences with just allowing people to flood across it. It's dangerous. I mean, it does. Yes, you get some good people, but you get a lot of bad people too. And we need to know who is coming across our border. It's that simple. We just need to know who's coming across, how long they're going to be here, what they're going to be doing. If they want a path to citizenship, let's make it a little easier for them to have that path to citizenship. I'm for that. I'm pro-immigration, 110%. I mean, if it wasn't for immigration, I wouldn't be here. My family on my mom's side of the family, my great-great-grandparents landed on Ellis Island from Ireland during the potato famine, you know? So, I mean, I'm definitely immigration, but
I know I'm kind of thinking in a perfect world mentality because there's absolutely no possible way we could have the manpower to do something like this. But in my mind, the most strategic and best way you could take care of this is placing entry points across the border, having people funnel into those entry points. They get their paperwork as soon as they come in. We tell them, hey, you have 2 weeks. And we let them in, and then as soon as they leave, or as soon as that 2 weeks is up, if they don't have their paperwork in, and, you know, they don't have something at least in the works, then you take and deal with it. But I don't believe we actually have the manpower to potentially deal with the flood of people like, you know, you were mentioning.
Right. And that's why we actually have to research people, you know, make them, hey, you know, you got to spend. I wouldn't be, you know, something that I think we could be more creative as a country on certain things. Maybe, you know, build some sort of shelter right at the border to where every single immigrant comes in, they spend the night, or if there's a backlog, if there's enough hitting at the same time, they spend the night there. It gives our government, you know, 24 hours to do the necessary research on that individual, do a background check, whatever, you know, vet that individual. You know, social workers come in and actually discuss with children and try and get it out of them. Hey, are you being brought across with your parents, or is this some stranger trying to get you all, you know, across for nefarious reasons? You know, so I think there's things that we could be more creative on and do a better job at. And like I said, very pro-immigration. So I definitely think that there's more that can be done. I just think we got to get creative with our ideas on how we do it. But you know, I think your idea of the problem with it is it would take a massive amount of manpower just to track these people down after we release them into our interior, and that's basically what's happening right now already. You know, they catch an illegal immigrant, they go to court, they release them, tell them come back to this court date or whatever, set them a court date, they never show back up. And then we never find them. And then
good luck trying to find them at that point. Yeah.
Right.
Very
and
good
then-
point. And that's part of the manpower thing I'm thinking.
Right, but then the other problem is you have these sanctuary cities that are going to say, "Hey, come here, hide from ICE, hide from the police, hide from whoever, federal agents." And so you've got to get everybody on the same page with that, and they never will.
I think the sanctuary cities would be. I think they would be appeased if we did this pathway to citizenship like I'm speaking of. With that being said, you make a very good point in the aspect of how are we going to follow up on this? It's a damn good point. I mean, slap ankle monitors on them? I have no answer for that. With that being said, though, should we turn these people away to go back to their homes before allowing them to become sick? Before allowing them into our country, do they need to be citizens?
By keeping them on the other side of the border, at least we find out who really wants to be here for diplomatic reasons and who's just trying to get over here to do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, guys. Final topic before we get to our American Idiot of the Week. Republicans are now suddenly supporting term limits now that they are no longer in the position of power. I believe this is hypocrisy on both sides at its finest because now Democrats are opposing it. But we have a video from, and bear with me here because this is the little YouTube video's name, AZZ7ECH. So here we go.
Senator Ted Cruz is trying to put term limits on lawmakers to hold career politicians accountable. Here are the details.
Senator Ted Cruz and other Republicans have reintroduced an amendment to the Constitution to limit the number of terms lawmakers can legally serve. It would limit senators to 2 6-year terms and representatives to 2 3-year terms. Cruz said, "The rise of political careerism in today's Congress is a sharp departure from what the founders intended for our federal governing bodies. I have long called for this solution for the brokenness of Washington, D.C., and I will continue fighting to hold career politicians accountable." He hopes it could give more oversight and accountability to people on Capitol Hill. He said, "Every year, Congress spends billions of dollars on giveaways for the well-connected. Washington insiders get taxpayer money, and members of Congress get reelected, all while the system fails the American people." Other Republicans who have joined Cruz include Senators Mike Braun, Pat Toomey, Marco Rubio, Todd Young, and Rick Scott. It's the third time Cruz has introduced an amendment to impose term limits. One opponent argued in 2019 that term limits would make it harder for Congress to do its job, and without an election to worry about, lawmakers could be less concerned with the needs of their constituents. Cruz is asking colleagues to submit the amendment to the states for speedy ratification.
So, with that being said, term limits all of a sudden become a Republican issue instead of a Democratic issue.
Not all of a sudden, though. You heard the video. It's not all of a sudden, though, because you heard the video. Ted Cruz has been trying to get this coming through.
Yep. I was going to say that before we watched the video. I knew about that.
With that being said, it's kind of funny all of a sudden it's gaining traction, I guess I should say. I'm not opposed to term limits. Fuck yeah, we need to put limits on these people. I think we've all agreed on this show at one point or another that the people that are in there obviously aren't doing their job. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm completely cool with term limits. At what point do you become so disconnected from your constituents that you do need to get out of there? You got your Nancys, your Chucks, your McConnells of the world that are just taking up space and being annoying at this point. So I'm all for term limits.
It's all about the Benjamins. That's what it's about.
I would agree there.
Yeah, we need to be able to put an end to that term, career politician.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Go ahead and start here in Congress with term limits, but then, everybody.
Yep.
I would agree.
The executive branch has term limits. The legislative should too.
If the president of the only people that should be, that could potentially serve their entire lifetime in government should be the people appointed to the Supreme Court. the presidency has term limits, for crying out loud. Why doesn't the legislative branch of this country, who actually wield more power than the presidency?
Right.
Because they found a way to do away with it.
True. Okay, y'all. We are now to our American Idiot of the Week. I will allow Manny to go first. Manny, do you want your video first, or do you just want to say it?
No, small speaking part. I think it will come as no surprise because I have elected this person many times based on things that he has said. With that, I give you this video.
Not in hand yet, but ordered. We expect these additional 200 million doses to be delivered this summer. And some of it will come begin to come in early summer, but by the midsummer that this vaccine will be there. And the order, and that increases the total vaccine order in the United States by 50%, from 400 million order to 600 million. This is enough vaccine to fully vaccinate 300 Americans by end of the summer, the beginning of the fall. But we want to make, look, I want to repeat, it'll be enough to fully vaccinate 300 Americans to meet this.
Yeah, I'm not sure how many doses each person is supposed to have, but when 600 million doses of vaccine only treats 300 people,
that's a problem.
There's an issue.
You get more than just two.
He doesn't quite understand math yet, because last I heard, you only needed 2 doses of the vaccine.
Right.
So for that reason, yes, Joe, good old Joe. Come on, man. He'll be my Come
on, man.
Okay, so my American Idiot of the Week this week will be Roger Goodell for not making a more swift action on this whole Chad Wheeler situation. I think we all agreed that his football career needs to be over, no matter whether, what happens, it needs to be over. And that's my American Idiot of the Week, because he's opening himself up for criticism, if nothing else. Richard?
I think I'm gonna go with AOC this week for her statement about Ted Cruz needing to drop out of the Senate because he what did she say? He tried to have her killed or whatever because he believed that the election was rigged, and so he disputed the result. So he was responsible for the insurrection also, and almost having her killed. And I mean, she was almost killed, even though nobody could hear her. She was almost killed. So,
I mean, by no means am I a Ted Cruz fan, but come on, really, AOC, come on, bro. At this point, it's like it's open season for people to just complain about stuff, but it is what it is on that situation. With that being said, I guess we're going to go ahead and get on out of here. For Richard the Spartan, Manic Hispanic, and Black Sheep, we will see you next Monday night.
Awesome.
If I can find the outro. There we go.
This means that Donald Trump will be the 45th president of the United States.